Hey, what's up everybody? It's Caden here with Money Growth Academy, and today we're going to be talking about 5 habits of highly successful people. But before we get started, if you don't mind just scrolling down and clicking that like button for me, it helps us out a bunch for the algorithm so we can get this info in front of more people. And you know what, while you're there, if you wouldn't mind also hitting that subscribe, it would also help us a ton. So today we're going to be talking about the top 5 habits of high performers. The first one being discipline. Now, this is one of those habits that can be excruciating to learn because it takes a lot of practice and mindfulness to be able to notice the things you're actively doing. One of the biggest issues, especially for me and many others, is spending way too much time on your phone. The average person in the U.S. is now spending anywhere from 5 to 7 hours a day on their phone. Guys, that's over 2,000 hours a year. There's only a little over like 8,500 hours in a year, and people spend a quarter of that on their phone. That's almost like 80 plus days or something. So how are you ever supposed to get anything done if you're only on your phone? So here's the best way to check how much time you're spending on your phone. Open up your settings, click screen time, and you'll see your average time. Now most people are pretty shocked, as was I when I first saw mine. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still trying to drop it down a bit, but here it says I'm down 42% from the last week, so I feel like I'm doing pretty okay. Here's a pro tip. A really smart thing to do if you're kind of addicted to your phone like many of us is go to your screen limit and set app limits for things like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those. So when your time runs out, you have to enter your password. Now obviously you already know the password, but it adds a layer where you have to stop and really think about it if you want to spend more time on that app or not. I just can't stress enough how much doing this has literally just changed how I live my life. Once I realized how many days a year I spend on my phone, it honestly made me feel a little bit sick. And as soon as I cut back, I actually felt so much better, happier. I was much more productive. I read more, I could work more, or even just go outside, as simple as that sounds. The next thing under discipline is to obviously make sure you're smashing that like button and subscribing, because we've got to get this info out to more people, and it drastically helps our channel. Okay, but actually the next thing under discipline is living below your means. So many people struggle with this because it's so hard to live below your means. Once you start making a little money, your mind just automatically switches over to wanting to spend all that money you just made. Maybe you just want to go buy some new clothes or get that nicer car or rent that luxury looking apartment. The problem with this is you get stuck in this perpetual loop where you then have to keep up with yourself. Of course, once you get that nicer luxury apartment, then you have to go get that more high-end furniture because you want it to fit the luxury style and you want everything to look nice. Of course, who wouldn't? But then you also have to go get nicer clothes now to match that new loop you just got caught up in. It's so easy to get caught up in this. However, this is not to say you shouldn't ever treat yourself every once in a while, right? Or that you should live in the most rundown, cheap place you can find with rats and roaches, but you should actively put off more luxury style living into the future. Practicing delayed gratification is so powerful because if we just have the self-control to live below our means now, instead of using that money on a luxury apartment, cars, clothes, jewelry, whatever it is, and we invest that money into the stock market, save it to start that business you've always been thinking about, or heck, even save it to start investing in some real estate. We'd all be so much better off in the future and we'd be thanking ourselves. But this is all part of discipline, probably the hardest habit to learn, but one of the best to have. The next habit is being proactive. The weird thing about this is it seems so easy, right? Yet when most of us look at just how much time we spend on our phones, we quickly realize, well, maybe we're not that proactive, are we? You see, being proactive is so vital because you're the only person responsible for your life. The fact is, we can't wait around for things to happen. If you just sit around all the time waiting for someone to give you that promotion or discover you or put you in the spotlight, it's not going to happen. You have to be the person who moves the ball forward and get yourself out there, because the reality is, sadly, no one else is going to care. And as harsh as that sounds, it's simply just true. No one else is going to come and make you be successful. That has to be your choice to get up and not be lazy. Then, besides being lazy, one of the easiest places to get caught up in is just simply procrastination. Seriously, my philosophy is that done is always better than perfect. Like Winston Churchill once said, perfection is the enemy of progress. And I can't even begin to explain how true this is. So many people are about to launch a business idea or even in their own workplace. They are working on a project and get caught up trying to make sure everything is perfect, right? But what most people don't realize is that they're usually just procrastinating.
Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it!
launch the idea already. It doesn't have to be perfect. This has happened to me in my businesses where we get caught up in trying to make sure everything is perfect, right? Who wouldn't? But the reality is it never will be perfect. And sometimes you just gotta move fast and let things break to actually figure out where you need to spend your time, maybe fixing or perfecting the process. Which brings me to the next habit of highly successful people, which is taking risks. Now, there's a lot of people who have tons of different opinions on risks and whatnot, and this is just my own analysis from my own life and studying the lives of other high performers. The thing with taking risks is that if you never take the risk, then sure, you're safe, right? But you're also going to be stuck in the same loop of life. You may never fail, but you will definitely never rise above what you currently have. Now, I don't think you should take dumb risks like gambling your house away to make some spare money, obviously, or buying that expensive car on a budget. But highly successful people take calculated risks that they know will push them forward to the next level, because they know if they don't take that risk, there's no way they're getting to the next phase of their life. The thing is, for those who are in their 20s or even teen years, now is such a great time to maybe take more risk than you can once you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and beyond. The reason is that now if you fail and fail hard, chances are you're gonna be okay and be able to get up and recover early, especially if you're super young. Because you don't have things like kids, spouses, bills, and such. When you're young, you have such an advantage to risk taking that others don't have. This isn't to say once you're 30, you just can't take risks anymore, right? But we can all agree that when you're younger, you can take a lot more risks that don't have to be nearly as calculated. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys agree with that, or if you wish maybe you took more risks in your early 20s when you were younger. Lastly, the hard thing about learning to take risks is that many high performers talk about is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Let's face it, no one likes to be uncomfortable, right? It sucks. Yet this is what holds so many people back from maybe making that big business purchase that could take your business to the next level, like buying that new t-shirt printer that could help you make triple the amount of product, but it's so expensive and that makes you uncomfortable taking that risk. You have to be able to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, or you'll never be able to find that greater success that you're owed. The thing with taking risks is either way you're going to grow and learn, which is probably the most important part. Because even if you fail, you'll know exactly why and how not to fail that same way next time. It really allows us to be able to continue growing no matter the outcome of the risk. Now, the fourth habit of high performers is spend time with people who inspire you. There's a reason millionaires hang out with other millionaires, hence why there's so many different millionaires clubs out there. It's because you are the average of the people you surround yourself most with. It's just human nature to begin to take on the traits of those who we surround ourselves with. You might not even realize it, but just stop and think, and it'll be pretty obvious. Now, of course, this isn't always a bad thing. However, if you are friends with the type of people who just bring you down mentally and are negative, and they're always complaining and nagging and this and that, chances are you're probably like that too. When you surround yourself with people smarter and wealthier than you, your mindset will quickly begin to change, I promise you. You'll think of everything so much differently than you currently are. Well, now you're probably thinking,
well, Caden, I don't have any millionaire friends or don't know any blah, blah, blah. Of course I can't do this.
well, guess what? It doesn't just have to be physical friends. This comes down to the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the people you follow on social media, the videos you watch. Now, I'm not saying go drop your friends if they're not millionaires, but really take a second to think. Do these people around me have the same goals as I do? Do they uplift you mentally and inspire you and motivate you? This is a very big limiter that many people don't realize they have until you really think about it and think about your friend group. Anyways, if you can't surround yourself physically with highly successful people like most people can't in the beginning, start listening to podcasts with them, or podcasts that simply just inspire you. Some of my favorite podcasts are How I Built This with Guy Raz, On Purpose with Jay Shetty, Bigger Pockets, The School of Greatness, and Ed Mylett. Those are such good ones. I recommend you guys listen to them seriously. There's tons of other great ones, of course. There's only just a few. Then follow these same people online. Social media is great, right? Because it's a place where we can see our friends, family, whatever, and of course, you know it, some hilarious memes. We all love the memes of social media. That's why we're there. But what's great is that by following these high performers, I'm also seeing their stories, their posts, and I'm constantly being inspired by them to keep working at what I'm doing. The people you surround yourself with have a much bigger impact than you think. Trust me. Now, the fifth and last habit is personally one of my favorites, but also very hard to keep up with. And it's It sounds simple, but it's not. It's being positive. And it's funny, right? Because it seems like such an easy one, but it's really hard because it requires you to constantly be aware of what you're thinking about. And we always have thoughts racing through our heads and some just play in the background of our minds without us even realizing it until we think about what we're thinking. I know, sounds kind of crazy, right? But what most people don't realize is that most of their thoughts throughout the day are actually pretty negative, right? Whether it's,
Oh, I hate work, I don't want to go, or I don't really feel like cleaning, or I don't like working with whoever.
it's hard to notice these things because they seem so small, right? But they actually have quite a big effect on you and your mood. I promise you, your thoughts do so much more than you actually think they do. And this is something I'll go deeper into in the future videos. But if the majority of your thoughts are negative, you're severely limiting what you and your mind can do because you're trapping yourself in this negative cycle where nothing ever is going right and you can't ever see any positive in your life. So learning how to rewire your brain to think positive thoughts is so important. You really have to understand this. I really want you to try and think about throughout your day and notice any negative thoughts. Be really conscious about it. If you want to go a step further, count how many times you had a negative thought in your notes on your phone, or maybe write it down somewhere on a paper or whatever. But seriously, be honest with yourself. It's really hard to be honest with yourself with this. Then I know this sounds silly and dumb to some of you, but whenever you have a negative thought, maybe stop and replace it with a positive one. Like if you're in traffic getting mad about the drivers in front of you, maybe take a second, breathe, relax, and think something positive. Or maybe think, you're in traffic now, you have time to reflect on your intentions for the day or your goals or whatever, or listen to more of that podcast you're listening to. Little things like this, I promise, are going to make a huge difference in your life. Okay, and with that, guys, those are the 5 habits of high performers. Of course, there are more, obviously, but I truly think these are the top 5 you need to master on your path to success. So let me know down below what you think. Did I miss any, or do you think any of these points I made aren't true? Let me know. Don't forget to hit that like button. It only takes a second and it helps us so much. Also, make sure you subscribe. Then down below are the links to our socials and other helpful links like my favorite podcasts. All right, I'll see you in the next one.